The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, the perfect place for a pre-match pint.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. Might come a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Rexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line only today is Mr. Marriott. Jamesy Hobbin, how the chuff are you?
Hey up. Yeah, just the two of us then tonight. I've managed 2 weeks in honour of the fact that Dickie Al's not with us tonight. I'm drinking a bottle of Brewdog Elvis juice, only because I know it's his favourite. I am sticking with my not drinking during the podcast thing, but this is just to kind of try and fill the void that Rich has left behind.
So you managed, 3 podcasts with you not drinking in podcasts?
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah, it's impressive, to be fair, for you, Jay. That's absolutely fantastical. But yes, it's rather an intimate little affair this evening. We've been left all on our own. Jeeves has lit some candles. We have some beautiful music playing in the background. And hopefully we'll not argue, James. Let's see what happens, shall we?
Have you bought me any chocolates or anything?
Well, I have a stash just in case. You never know when someone's going to pop round for an intimate little affair, you see. Right, then, ladies and gentlemen, so let's crack on with some Wednesday news, shall we? First things first, we'll start with the QPR, James, if that's okay with you. This was a very...
Can you describe it as the QPR James?
The QPR
That's
James.
Brilliant. I love that, QPR James.
We've named it in honour of you, James, because we're not quite sure what to do with it. It's a rather odd little game.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I was mega grumpy, all right, through that. And I consider myself to be, a bit of a happy clapper, annoyingly positive. And, I think I kind of get on quite a few people's nerves because I always try and look for the positives and all that kind of stuff. I was really grumpy on Saturday. And I think I was grumpy. It was a lovely day up till about 20-3. And then I was in a bad mood for the rest of the afternoon because they've stopped selling beer on the North Stand. I mean, they still sell lager and whatnot, but they used to have that one... outlet right at the end of the North Stand that started doing like proper, nice pale ale, and they had a bitter on and stuff, and it's gone. They've taken it away, and it's like, we're supposed to be moving forward as a football club, not backward as a football club. And honestly, I was in a right mood for the whole afternoon, and 2 people messaged me on Sunday saying they'd seen me at half time and said, I've never seen you like that before, James. I've never seen you so negative about stuff. Because I was having a right old wine. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that there wasn't any decent beer on, or whether it was the fact that we didn't play brilliantly. And in hindsight, I think we've got to give QPR a bit of credit, because I think that they're a decent team. I said this on the pod last week, actually. I think there's something about QPR that just makes me think they're going to do all right this season. And I thought that they actually put together some decent passages of play. I think if we played them in another couple of months, they would probably have won that game. And they had a couple of chances where they could have stolen it, really. And yeah, it never really looked like we were on the verge of getting a win out of that game. It never felt like we were on top. I mean, we'll come on to talk about Sunderland in a while, which I think was a different equation entirely. But QPR, I don't know. I came away just thinking, this season, it's not going to happen for us. If we're playing like that, it's not going to happen for us.
The thing is with the QPR game, and I was frustrated watching it, really frustrated watching it, but Carlos has this way of being able to change a game with substitutions, which is something that just got robbed from us right at the beginning, didn't it? Obviously, Hutch went within, 4 or 5 minutes, and then obviously Lubens went, and then there's that thing. I mean, we always say we play better in the second half, but it's normally because Carlos gets to tinker a little bit. I don't know, people are going to be listening to this now, screaming at their wireless. Do people still listen to this on a wireless? Probably not. Saying, oh, Carlos is rubbish. But there's a reason that we always seem to play better in the second half, because Carlos can, in my opinion, see the game for what it is and have a little tinker and sort of fine-tune things. We just didn't have that option at all, did we, on against QPR? We had nothing.
You're right in terms of the fact that losing 2 players to injury in the first half is really unlucky, and it was kind of our worst nightmare. And we've talked many times about not signing a centre half and the risk that was involved in that. And of course, your worst case scenario comes true where your recognised centre half goes off injured. Then the only other guy on the field that you've got that's played centre half before also goes off injured, or was it the other way around? I can't remember. I drunk a lot of beer. But yeah, I mean, you just it was they were dropping like flies, weren't they? And it was a really bad situation for us to be in. Just to kind of come back on kind of the second part of that point, really. I am a Carlos fan, and I always have been, and I was pleased during the summer that they came to the arrangement they came to, and that he stayed on. But I don't kind of buy this thing about, oh, well, he can change it at half time. Why are we so incapable of getting it right in the first half? What was the point of us having a pre-season? He knows these players. He knows these players well. He's the I think third longest serving manager in the league now. And he knows the players, and the players know him. Why can we not get it right from the start? I don't understand it.
I think it is.
And I can't see what the excuse is now. This is our third poor start in a row, and it's going to cost us.
I don't think it's Carlos. In my opinion, Carlos has a way to play to our strengths to the other team, if you like. And again, Holloway he's just got there. Is another sort of new entity, isn't he? I mean, we know that Holloway sets up clubs very well, and obviously he loves us as well. I mean, I'm sure it'd be a Wednesdayite if he wasn't a manager. We've seen him bouncing at Hillsborough before, for goodness' sake.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, it's one of those things where we've not got a lot of information on the other club, and I think Carlos likes a lot of other information on the other club, and we don't have that with the teams that we've really played so far. He doesn't have that setup. And I know we suffered a bit from it last year, which is why, as the game progresses, Carlos tends to tinker to the situation. But yeah, again, I'm not trying to use that as an excuse. That's my perception, if you like, of Carlos as a manager. And I think usually he does it quite well. I think he did it well on Saturday. Again, we'll come on to the Sunderland game shortly. I think he did it well there as well. But the option was just removed. He has this big thing about players playing with energy and passion and all that kind of thing, and you see him sort of tinker with the team to keep that energy going throughout the game, and we just didn't really have that option, did we? And it's not as though the QPR game was a total managerial fault as well. We had our chances in that game, didn't we? I had a lot of chances in that game.
Yeah, but you're gonna get chances in every game. The issue that we've got at the moment is that we can't afford to fall behind in every game. You're not going to get promoted when you have to go behind in every game for us to start playing. And actually, this is something that throughout for all of us throughout our time supporting Sheffield Wednesday, we've gone through periods where it's felt like we have to go behind in a game before we start playing. It's not the first time that we've kind of gone through one of these spells, and it's probably not that long ago that we last went through one. I think it's only a couple of years ago. But it's not you're not going to get very far, are you, when you have to go behind, when you're always conceding the first goal before you actually figure out, all right, this is how we're going to play this game. And I just don't think it's good enough. I really don't think it's good enough. I think that clubs now are doing their homework on who they're playing. They're getting to kind of see what their tactics are. And they're figuring out a game plan, and they're going out from the start and winning it. And it's like, we've three games so far and 3 completely different lineups each time. You're like, when you start in the season, the point of pre-season is that you get to know what the team to start the season is. But it felt like we kind of started with a team and then thought, oh, it didn't work against Preston, so we're going to change it. And then we thought, well, that didn't really work against QPR, but we're quite close now to figuring out what the right team is. We know that Winnall's got to play, and we know that Hooper's got to play.
It's a lot of changes were enforced against Sunderland.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. And it's difficult to account for what's happened with Forestieri, and obviously, the defensive problems is an entirely different debate, which we could fill an hour-long podcast with, all on its own. And I don't think there's any point as going over that, because everything that needs to be said about that has been said, because that's just a total shambles. But I still feel like the areas of the pitch where we've perhaps not had the injury problems, We still not we've not played the same forward line for any game this season so far. I know we've only played 4 games, but we've swapped and changed and not quite been able to decide what the best way of playing is and what the correct front pairing is. And then at times we've played 3 up front, and that's works when we've done it, and we'll probably talk about that again in a bit. I don't know. It just feels like a mess. And I remember us sitting here, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, or whatever, and saying, we can't afford to, and there is no excuse for us making a slow start again this season, because we've not brought in huge amounts of players in the summer. There's no gelling, there's no cohesing to be done. That's all been done. There's hardly any players come in. Yeah, absolutely. So there's no excuse for us making a slow start, and yet here we are.
But if, and these are big ifs, and I apologise for ifing so much, but if the handball saved goal had gone in from Hooper, which was a clear handball, how on earth did Chuffy miss that? I'll never know. Had that gone in, had the penalty been given for Hooper being dragged down in the box, had the Rhodes diving header, Christ knows how he missed that one, gone in, and had Winnall's other chance of going in. There was a cracking chance he had, sort of stood on his own first half just not far from the penalty spot and managed to scuff it wide. Had any of those chances gone in, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Yes, obviously, people are pointing the finger to Carlos, aren't they? And had these little things gone for us instead of against us, I really don't think we'd be having this chat.
Well, yeah, fair point, and I think there were 2 good shouts for penalties. There were a couple of points where we were a little bit unlucky. I think QPR had a couple of golden chances to score a second themselves. So I'm sure whoever does their podcast, they're probably sat there saying, well, we got away with a couple, but Christ, we should have won that game. And they're probably right, and you're probably right. Both teams had a chance to win it, but neither of them did. And we are where we are, and we're 3 league games into the season, and we've got 2 points. And that stat doesn't really lie. And if I tell you what, if I'm not sitting here now saying it's time for Carlos to go by any stretch of anyone's imagination. What I would say is that I think that the second half performance against Sunderland has probably saved him from people like me who are fans of his saying, I just don't know if I can get behind him anymore because something is wrong. But actually the second half performance against Sunderland, which I'm obviously we'll come on to in a bit, has actually restored my faith and made me think, all right, actually, maybe now we are just about to hit the point where we can turn games and win games, and we can go out and we can do what we need to do to get 3 points game in, game out. But it wasn't there against QPR. I thought against QPR we would have been lucky to get 3 points from that game.
No, absolutely. I think to be honest, I think we did well to sort of rescue a point after all that nonsense as well. Because again, I'll come back to it. I do think Holloway's a decent manager, and I do think he sets up his teams very, very well indeed. And they did look organised, and they did look well drilled. But I mean, it was what it was, and I just think that again, it's this element that seems to have sort of crept into the fan base, a lot of moaning, and I understand why. I'm frustrated as well. I wanted to kick on this season. I am expecting promotion this season. Maybe still looking at my glass half full, if you like. But against all this, again, Reach, the abuse that he got after the QPR game was, in my personal opinion, a little bit unwarranted. I mean, if you look at what he did do well instead of looking what he did badly, and there was things he could have done better, don't get me wrong, but the cross that came in for that goal that wasn't a goal, that handball, was from Reach to Hooper. The ball to Winnall when he scuffed that shot was from Reach as well. So again, we'll come on to the Sunderland game in a second because it's much better that game as well. But I do think that the Went fans are getting a bit frustrated and maybe just a little bit harsh with some of their criticism as well. But no doubt people will let me know if I'm wrong over there on Twitteridge when the podcast has gone out. Have you heard anything else about the QPR game before we move on, Sunderland, Jay?
No, I just echo that really, and just say that you're probably right, and there is there is a lot of negativity around at the moment, and the majority of it, I'm similar to you. The majority of it, I probably don't agree with, but I am at a point where I sort of understand it and I sort of respect it, because it really hasn't been anything like the kind of the start to the season that would have wanted. And like I said earlier, I'm hoping that it's turned on that second 45 minutes on Wednesday night. But yeah, I do. I still feel like I'm not sure what the point of what a lot of the abuse has been. And this takes me back to, me kind of having a bit of a whinge about people booing against Preston. And we saw a similar thing on Wednesday night, really. I'm not sure how productive that is. And, people getting on the back of players like Reach, who's obviously, we know from what we've seen of him, he's a bit of a confidence player. It's not going to do anyone around the football club any good at all for people to be, sending real personal abuse and just slating a player. If you've got a productive point to make about someone's performance or something, then by all means do it. But at the moment, it seems like people just want to whinge about stuff for the sake of whinging about stuff, and all that's going to do is just create a negative cycle, and that's not going to do anyone any good at all, is it?
Do not like a negative cycle, Jay. Absolutely not.
No.
We'll have no negative
I'm all
cycles
about
over
positive
here.
cycle. Yes.
Right, so on to the Sunderland game, and of course, within the first sort of minutes, we're all a bit worried about Mr. Hunt, wasn't he? Because he took a bit of a clash of ankles, didn't he? And as soon as I saw him go down that Sunderland game, I thought, oh crikey, here we go again. It didn't. I was a little bit worried, I must admit there, Jay. There is this. The medical team has been changed, and obviously the pre-season has been done. Do you think there is any issues? Obviously that was a clear just clash of shins, if you like. It looks, looking back at the replays, it looked like he got him right on his shin bone, which does chuffing hurt if you catch it in the wrong way. But do you think there's a medical issue, or do you think these Hutch and Louvens and that, it pains me to say it, but can these players be relied upon now? Because they're cracking players, but
I don't
is
know.
this still a problem?
If I'm honest, in my heart of hearts, I've got a feeling that Louvens is just about done, and I think that we probably all knew this, really, that Louvens maybe sitting on the bench and he can come on and do half an hour if he needs to. If someone else picks up a knock or something, he can probably deal with. But we can't rely on Glenn Louvens this year. His injury record wasn't great when he came here, and it's certainly not been great while he's been here, and it's not great at the moment. And we're in a situation whereby I kind of laughed during pre-season about the suggestion that Daniel Pudil would be playing centre half, and kind of said, look, we're playing centre half during the friendlies. There's no way in the world that we're going to do that in the league, because no one has ever described Daniel Pudil as a centre half. That has never happened. And I've mentioned before, I've got quite a few friends that are Watford fans, and I've mentioned it to them, and they're like, "No, he's not a centre half. He's never played centre half in his life." So, we find ourselves in that situation, but we can't. I don't think we can rely on Louvens. And again, with Hutch, we know the situation with Hutch, and it's worth it with Sam, isn't it? Because what he does bring to the team on those games where he plays is worth the games where he's not around because he's injured.
Absolutely. And we're plenty of cover for Hutch nobody can do what Hutch does, if you like, but obviously in the Sunderland game we saw this diamond formation, if you like. To me it looked quite good. I don't know, do you think that's the way forward this season, Jay, playing this diamond? It frees up an extra role for another striker, which we do have an abundance of, shall we say, at the moment, doesn't it? And of course, hopefully, or not hopefully, depending on your situation, when Forestieri does return to the team, it brings up a lovely little sort of number 10 role for Forestieri as well, doesn't it? Do you think that's Carlos's thinking behind this?
I don't think his thinking behind this has got anything to do with Forestieri in the slightest, if I'm honest. That's a different subject, and I'm sure we'll come on to that later on.
I'm sure.
But, yeah, it did. I think once we actually figured out what we were doing with it did seem to work. I'm not entirely sure whether or not it suited Wallace all that well. I think that I'm not sure if he fully understood his role. He seemed to be tracking in field a lot, and I don't know whether or not it quite worked with Wallace. But it did seem to have some real sort of some real benefits, and it felt like. It gave Bannon, I thought, particularly had a good game on
It
He
was
had a bit of a dodgy
immense,
start,
wasn't
but ultimately had a good game, yeah. And it seemed to really kind of suit him. David Jones, I think we probably all agree, was a little bit wobbly, but he's someone that's not playing in his natural position. He's not a defensively minded player. He never has been. He's an attacking player, but we're converting him into what we need him to be. I think it'd be a very different situation if Hutch was playing on Wednesday night, because I think that formation would really suit him and really work. Do I think that Carlos is going to play that game in, game out? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I see it.
I thought he brought a bit more width as well. I think that's why probably Wallace was a bit iffy with where he's supposed to be, because obviously in that formation, when you've got your two, for the want of better term, wingers coming in, and obviously the fullback sort of bombing past him, if you like, it's a bit odd, isn't it? I know. I mean, when we're right back to when Carlos sort of first arrived, and we saw we saw Wallace and Hunty playing together down that wing. They played so well together, but Wallace was the man to be really going forward with that, wasn't he? And he's not in this particular formation, is he?
No, not really. I mean, he's always been an oddball in terms of being a winger, isn't he, Wallace? Because he's not a natural winger. He's also left-footed, but plays on the right, and there's so many kind of odd things about Wallace playing where he plays. It doesn't seem to make a huge amount of sense, although strangely does seem to work. But yeah, I mean, the good thing about it was that it did really allow and encourage Reach and Hunt to really kind of bomb on down the wings. And I think we've talked before about the selling points of us playing a back three, and if we had three fit central defenders, then we might be able to even think about it. But at the moment, we're a long way off that. But seeing Reach particularly, it seemed to really suit him, and he really grew into that game. And I thought it didn't start particularly brilliantly, but once he kind of grew into kind of what his role was, and the fact that he could come forward kind of at will, really, I thought worked really well. Whether or not can you see Carlos entertaining that away from home? I think he likes a very flat 4-4-2 away from home, and actually I think when we're playing slightly more adventurous teams at Hillsborough, I don't know whether or not this kind of more cautious Carlos that we've seen over the last 12 months, whether or not he's going to be able to put that to one side and go for it in these games.
I must admit, though, Sunderland did surprise me a bit as well, because I wasn't expecting them to be as good, to be honest, as they were. I know they've just come down for the Premiership, but I thought they were on a downward spiral, and I was actually quite impressed with them.
They were all right. I think we actually made them look better than they are. I think if we were playing a team that had got anything about them, they would have absolutely crucified us, particularly first half. But they had chances in the second half, and they had a really good chance to win the game that they really should have scored quite late on. So I thought they were all right. I didn't think they were as good as QPR, and I thought that we actually probably made them look a little bit better than they were.
It has to be said as well, there was a bit of a goalkeeping error for the first goal, in my personal opinion. Westy sort of ran and went a bit mad, didn't he? I suppose he's allowed a few mistakes in a season. If we get them out of the way quick, then we can just have a lovely season thereafter. But it's unusual to see him make that sort of a mistake, really, isn't it? Because he's such an experienced goalkeeper. It's just a little bit odd.
He's got a hot head, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
When he comes rushing out and brought players down, giving away penalties and stuff like that before. And this was another one where, I mean, having watched it back, you just think, when I watched it live during the game, I just thought I couldn't understand why he was where he was. But I thought, when I watch the replay, it'll probably become a bit more clear. And I watched the replay and still just thought, no, there was no reason at all for him to go to that. It was a real error in judgment. It was a goalkeeper mistake. It cost us a goal. And, Kieran Westwood, I don't think particularly needs anyone to tell him off about these things, because he is a professional. He will have been kicking himself, and he's probably still annoyed with himself now, and might even be for weeks, months, probably for the rest of the season. He'll probably keep every so often just having a flashback to it. So I don't think we particularly need to rub his nose in it or anything like that. But it was a strange decision. I actually wonder whether part of it is how confident does he feel about the 4 players that are in front of him at the moment? And on a different day with a different central defender pairing, does he do that, or does he feel confident that they will sort that out, and maybe there's a bit of overcompensation going on there?
No,
Either way, I mean, it didn't work. Don't do it again, for God's sake, Wesley, please.
What sort of did disappoint me slightly as well. I mean, obviously we saw the players rush to the line to try and block the ball, but the Honeyman that scored, wasn't he? He actually took 2 touches before he actually hit the ball. The strike was a 3rd touch, which is far, far, far too much time to be able to take 2 touches in your own area. So yes, I understand why the players sort of rushed to the line, but surely somebody should have got at him as well. It's just really odd, crappy, shockingly bad defending, which is...
It was, wasn't it? It was awful. It was an awful goal to watch sat there on the night. It's an awful goal to watch back. And I can't imagine that we'll concede many goals worse than that this season. It was just horrendous. It really was. And I hope that that's the low point in terms of our defending, because if it is, and we've got it out of the way now, then maybe we can see that as being a bit of a positive moving forward. We've got another defender on the scene now. Hopefully that is rock bottom in terms of our defending this season.
Absolutely,
I really hope so.
But after that, I mean, I think after they score, after that initial sort of first shockingly bad sort of 5-10 minutes, I think for the rest of the game, we played really, 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 really well. I mean, obviously, second half was outstanding, I thought. How on earth that it ended up us drawing that game, I still can't fathom it. I really, really can't. It was a good game of football, actually.
Yeah, it really was. And, it's the... with the exception of the Chesterfield game, which obviously was in the Cup, and it was only Chesterfield, it was the first time this season where we've actually played some really genuinely decent football, and things have fallen into place. And we can count ourselves unlucky in a lot of ways. I thought we had a decent shout for a penalty. There was that goalmouth scramble where I've watched it back and I still just think, how did that not go in? It's frustrating and painful watching it back, because it's inches away from being a goal. Hooper inches away from what would have been a very, very worthy winner. And you know what? That second half, we really did get it right. And, for kind of level-headed fans, and I hope that doesn't sound derogatory towards fans who have very much made their mind up that they want Carlos to go, because it's not meant to be. But I would consider myself to be quite, level-headed, and I always try and balance things and see it from both sides. People like me who... I think would have just started to kind of look towards the Carlos outside and just saying, actually, is it time for a change, because something is not right at the moment. I think that 45 minutes might just have kind of saved him from people like me being on the fringe of kind of sticking the knife in a little bit. But the issue with it is that it took us 235 minutes of football for us to actually get there. As I said earlier, it just makes me wonder what the point of pre-season is. And from that second half against Sunderland, we learnt more than we've learnt in the entire rest of the season so far, because we know now Fletcher and Hooper are our best 2 forwards, and they should play every game together while ever possible. They work well together. It gives us a variety of options. It probably helps when Winnall's around us as well. But Fletcher and Hooper are the best 2 attackers that we've got, and they're certainly the best combination of attackers that we've got. And if that means that Rhodes has to be on the bench, then so be it. If that means that Winnall plays wide, or at times plays part of a front 3, then that's great. That's fine. But they are the best 2 strikers, and they work well together. We learned that Reach as a wing back works, and we've probably said this a few times all season. He's not a natural fullback as such, but if he's playing in a role that he's acting as a wing back, and he's actually not bad defensively, to be fair to the lad. We know that works, and we know that Bannon works better given the kind of role that he had on Wednesday night than the role that he's played at other times this season. He doesn't play brilliantly in that defensive role, and actually he's not good enough in terms of the attacking midfield role to carry it off himself. But put him in that kind of role that he was playing on Wednesday, where he's kind of tracking inside and whatnot, and it works. So I think that we learnt a lot on Wednesday evening, from 8:45 onwards, and I really hope, and I've got my fingers crossed as I'm saying this to you, I really hope that Carlos learns those lessons, because if he doesn't learn the stuff that the rest of us feel like we learned on Wednesday, then I kind of do start to fear a bit for him.
Yeah,
you can't afford to make the same mistakes going into the next two games. Fulham away is a difficult game. I'll tell you what, Burton away is a damn hard game. They've got nothing so far. They've got 0 points, and they'll think back to last season when they had a relatively slowish start. But we were. I think we were their first win of the season. They'll look at us and think, oh, we turned them over last season. You know what? Maybe we can do it again.
No, absolutely quite right. Going back to this sort of Carlos thing, I do think that if we have another few games along these sort of lines, I think he will be in trouble. I know it's difficult for me to say that because I'm a big Carlos fan. Yeah, but I'll sort of support anybody that's in the job at that time. It's one of the things that I've always done. But yeah, I'm really struggling to, not so much to make excuses for Carlos or anything at all like that, because I do think he knows what he's doing, and I think he's had a real run of bad luck both last season and this season with injuries, which is not something that the manager can really help, if you like. But I do think this centre-back issue has been a big one, and I can't understand why it's not been sorted out. Obviously, we've got this chap, which we'll come on to in a moment or two, but it just seems to have been something that should have been so urgent and get taken care of, and I just don't understand why it took this long for that issue and that's one of the biggest things with Carlos is this, just get it done, just get it chuffing. And you looked at 200 centre-backs and not one of them were good enough. It just seems a bit going back to the Sunderland game. Sorry, go on, Jake.
No, I was going to say that in terms of that 200 centre-backs, you suspect that we actually were in for quite a few of them, and it just didn't happen for one reason or another. And we know that Carlos can be a little bit playful with numbers when he wants to be as well, don't we? But I'm going to kind of repeat something that I said earlier on, but to kind of phrase it the way that I think I want to phrase it, which is, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the podcast that we had the highest squad retention level in the league going into the season. And highlighting what a positive that is, because we've got a group of players that we've not thrown together. They've been together for a while now, and they know each other. They know each other players. We've got the third longest serving manager in the league. If you take Neil Harris out of it, because Millwall came up, he's the second longest manager in the league. Millwall don't really count anyway. Just take them out of the equation, get rid of them. So with that situation, the manager knows the players know the manager. How are we making such a slow start? It just doesn't. Something doesn't make sense, and it felt at half time on Wednesday. Me and my mate John were talking, and we just said something's not right. And I don't. Is it like a football thing on the field? Is there something wrong off the field? Is Carlos the problem? It's something isn't right. We lost Fessy, and that's difficult to kind of cope with that kinds of thing. Personally, I think that Carlos should have known that Fessy shouldn't have been part of his plans this season. That for one reason or another, that he should have found ways of winning games without us relying on him. But it just feels like every element should be there for us to make a real strong start to the season. And actually, we've made the worst start that we've made under Carlos. And that just doesn't seem right, and it's absolutely fair that people are asking those questions now. Carlos has got to answer them, and we're not football managers, and it's silly for any of us to pretend that we know better than him. But like I said earlier, it feels like there was enough there on Wednesday to really draw some conclusions from that, and Carlos has got to take those things and he's got to learn from them. And if he still can't do that, then it does become open season for people to kind of start calling for him. Yeah?
No, absolutely can't. I really can't disagree with it, can you? It's although we want to, it's really difficult to actually disagree with that point of view at the minute. Going back to the Sunderland game last little bit, of course, we can't let this pass without speaking about the absolute thunder chuffer from Mr. Jones. Obviously, another player that gets some right old pelters, and possibly warranted so every now and again, bless him. He's a trier, isn't he, Mr. Jones? He really is. But as soon as that ball popped out, you could see what was happening, couldn't you? And I think everybody in the crowd was just, shoot! Did it the bloody thing? And oh my word, it was a peach, wasn't it? An absolute good old-fashioned thunder chopper. Loved it.
It was beautiful, and the TV angle doesn't actually do justice with just how much it swerved in the air. From where I sit in the north stand, you saw, because the keeper should have had a chance of saving that, but it swerved so much the keeper didn't have a clue where it was, let alone where it was going. It was hit with some serious venom, and he got some serious swerve on that. And yeah, it was beautiful. It was another one of those, a little bit like the Bannon goal in the Chesterfield game, where the angle the ball is rising as it hits the back of the net, and it just looks so good. And it was brilliant, and I was dead pleased for him, because I do like David Jones. I think he's a really intelligent player, and I think that he's trying to adjust to a position that he's playing in that's not his natural position. And I think he's doing his best. And it's he's not getting much luck, and he is making errors, and he fell over a lot on Wednesday night, which is difficult to account for and difficult to excuse. But I just thought it was nice for him at least to be able to take something positive from that, because he did get quite a lot of stick. And hopefully that's enough for him to kind of maybe get a bit of his confidence back going into the next few games, because I think we're going to need him. I really do think that we're going to need him, and I think there's a player that can really come good for us there. We need to stop getting on his back. We need to get behind him, and we need to let him show us what he can do, because we saw a flash of that, didn't we? That just there on Wednesday night. And if we get this guy playing the way that he can, I mean, how many goals did he score against us? He's got some peach goals against us for Burnley. And you've got a guy there who's a Wednesdayite from birth. He loves this club, and he will give his absolute utmost. But we've got to get behind him.
Absolutely. No, there's a couple of things that you mentioned there, Jay. First of all, there is I don't know if you've seen the video online from Brad Garside. There's a chap that does some Wednesday vlogs online. If you're not following him, pop over to YouTube, have a little nosy. But there's a cracking video that he had from the Kop. So you can see the ball coming at you, if you like, and it's a cracking view of the goal. And there's a chap that goes absolutely mental in front of him when he scores as well, which is always fun. And the other thing about David Jones is old Lord H had one of his very, very old friends come over from Spain to go to the Sunderland game, and he was saying that obviously pre-season it was out in Portugal, and obviously followed the team around in Portugal, so he only lived in Spain, so he sort of drove up, and he says beginning of the second match out there that Dave Jones came over and said, we saw you early, didn't we? And he had a little chat with him, and Hutch came over as well, and so not only is as a Wednesday night and a cracking chat, but he apparently he's just a really nice man as well. Goes up and has a little chat with the chaps that he recognised in Portugal as well. So it's just another one of those really frustrating things where you see him on the football pitch and you just want to love him, but when it's falling over, just put some chuffing studs on. It's all these bloody modern moulds. Get some proper studs on with some nails in. That'll sort you out.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on with a bit of Wednesday news, shall we? Of course, firstly, we do now have a centre-back, don't we, Jay? Are you ready for a pronunciation? Drum roll, please. We have Mr. Federico Venciano.
I've not really, I don't think I've even seen his name, to be honest. I know nothing about him at all, but I strangely really like him already. And I don't know if it's just because it's a bit like kind of like the old Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? When, because no one gives you a defender for such a long time, when they do give you one, you just think, brilliant, absolutely, I love him, fantastic. He's going to be the best defender that's ever played for us. But he was captain of his team. They gave him a new contract in the summer. Not quite sure what's happened as to why they've done that. And then he's gone out on loan we've got an option to buy him in the summer if we want that. That seems a little bit odd, but not unheard of. It's happened before. We saw it with Fabian Delph, didn't we? That he did that, signed a new contract, and then left the club like 3 weeks later or something daft. But I don't know, just something about, I think, I've seen a couple of photos of him in action and stuff. Just a weird feeling. I've just got this strange feeling that he's going to be really good. and which I never had with kind of like Sasso and stuff like that. But with this guy, I don't know. Maybe it's just he seems to have a good stature about him. I just think, yeah, him and Tom Lees, I can see it. I can see those two working together.
He's a big chuffer, isn't he? He's a big old unit as well, and it is a bit strange because if you just started your season and then suddenly your captain goes out on loan, it'd just be a bit weird, that, wouldn't it? But he says he does really, 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 really want to play in England, and he's hoping to. I was reading the bits and bobs on the website, and he's hoping to impress this season. And he basically said, "So you buy me at the end of the season," which is fantastic, isn't it? I mean, hopefully, it's going to really bode well for us. And he actually, in this interview, he says, "This is a dream come true. So don't wake me up," which is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd be excited.
I think we're going to have to do. No sleeping during games, please, Federico.
I think he makes a mistake.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean,
his son will get woke up as well, won't he? Bless him.
He apparently speaks really good English. Which is I know it's an obvious thing to say, but that's a really good start. It means there's no language barrier there. If he really wants to play in England, chances are he's been following English football for quite a long time, which means he will know a fair bit about the game. So, I know people have kind of said, oh, he's another unknown from Portugal and stuff. And yeah, fair enough. In an ideal world, we would have signed Sean Morrison in the summer, or we would be signing Harley Dean or whatever that know the Championship inside out. But that's not happened. So let's put that to bed. Let's forget about that, and let's concentrate on the fact that we've got someone here, and the things that you would look for in buying a player from a place like Portugal that just give you that little bit of an advantage. Stuff like being able to speak the language pretty well, knowing the game pretty well. He's got those things. So in terms of going and getting a centre-back from abroad, it's as good a situation as you're going to find yourself in if you're getting someone that's never played in the country before. He ticks a lot of boxes. So, I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I really hope that our fan base give him a fair crack of the whip, because, yeah, I think that it is a different game over here, and he may make a couple of unforced errors before he fully gets into his stride. But that's where we are right now, and it's better than us playing a left back who, to be fair to Daniel Pudel, actually, he's done all right. But there were a couple of points that the game on Sunday where I turned to my mate and just said, you know what, I really feel for him, because he's not a centre half. He doesn't really know what he's doing. Granted, he's got a bit of height and he can win stuff in the air, and he did okay. But crikey, if we were playing against a really good forward line on Wednesday, I think they'd have ripped him to bits. I really do, and I felt really sorry for him. To be getting back to a situation where we've got two, quite young, a good age, ripe age centre halves, who can form a partnership and hopefully stay injury free, then that is a cracking situation for us to be in. It's a shame it's taken us till now to get there, and we still need another defender. We need an option off the bench, and I don't think we can rely on Louvens for that, certainly in the foreseeable future. So I still hope that we're keeping tabs on what's happening with Harley Dean at Brentford, and we're ready to make our move if we need to there. But yeah, I think it's good. It feels positive. It's the first kind of positive news that's come out of the club for a little while, so I'm happy about that.
He also said, looking back at this interview, he says he thinks his game is suited to the English game. He's aggressive, and he likes to play football at the same time, which to me just screams Hutch, which is going to be brilliant. I just hope he's not another Hutch where he's so aggressive we're going to see lots of yellow cards and sending offs and things like that. But it's a positive step, you say there, Jay. I think we should reserve judgment. I mean, we've all seen the YouTube videos and things like that, but I'm sure if you put my footballing highlights up on YouTube, it made me look chuffing wonderful as well. And to be honest, I'm not the player I once was, if I'm perfectly frank with you. But yeah, absolutely, looking forward to it. Welcome, Federico. That sounds like a song already, doesn't it? Right, so on with the other Wednesday news from this week. Jack Stubbs, of course, our wonderful young prospect, has gone out on loan to Port Vale, which I think is an absolutely belting move. This is what we want, isn't it, Jay? To get these young chaps blooded against some proper footballing, kick your ass in the air men. Is that right?
Yes. Jack Stubbs is a funny case, isn't he? Because he... I think we've talked about it a couple of times before. He had that brush with the first team at the back end of Stuart Gray's kind of season in charge. and he played. I think, was it when we lost at home to Bolton, the final home game of the season, or penultimate home game of the season, or something. And he either came on as a sub, or I think he might have started that game or something. And then he just seemed to vanish, and that's like, 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago now. And you had to start fearing a bit for the lad if you thought, if off the back of the season that the youth had last year, if he can't make progress and start pushing himself towards getting some actual first team football this season, you start to just wonder whether or not it's ever going to happen for him. So I think it's a really good move. Port Vale, an interesting club. I think they went down, didn't they, last season? So they're in League Two. So they're going to be really wanting to push on and be looking to get back to the third tier this season. And it's a really good chance for him to get some football under his belt, show what he can do, and then he's got to come back here and he's got to be pushing for the first team, hasn't he? Because he's been here for a long, long time now. He's actually probably one of our longest-serving players around the club, which sounds ridiculous, really, but he's been involved in the first team on and off, granted, but for longer than probably 95% of our squad.
Is it really rather odd video of him as well? The local rag down there is called the Sentinel, and they've sort of put him up against a wall and stuck a camera in his face and asked him some questions and things. I don't know if you've seen this video, but if you do search Jack Stobbs the Sentinel, I'm sure you'll see it on there. It looks like an interrogation video from a crime scene. It's hilarious. But no, he says on there that he's looking to get some first team experience, which is all well and good, I suppose. Obviously, that's why we sent him out there. And again, after the season that the under-23s did have last season, this is not surprising that clubs on the sort of level of Port Vale are going to be looking at these players and wanting them to come on loan, because obviously it's not costing them a lot of money. It's doing us a massive favour getting these kids' blood. I don't mean that disrespectfully calling him a kid, but I think it's a really, really good move, and I do hope it comes good. I really, really do, because he has been a massive prospect for a long, long time, and fingers crossed it'll all go well for him down there. I'm sure we'll keep an eye on him too.
He's got like the best Yorkshire name in the world as well, hasn't he? Jack Stobbs. He really does sound like, maybe if football doesn't work out for him, he could just become a character on Coronation Street, because it does sound like. Have you seen Jack Stobbs? He's with his pigeons. Just up with pigeons now. It's the proper
he talks
Yorkshire
like that
name.
as well, doesn't he?
I appreciate Coronation Street. It's not in Yorkshire, is it? But you know what I mean.
The Yorkshire interloper on Coronation Street, absolutely. But no, I really hope it goes well. I really, really do. And the other sort of rumoured loan is that Mr. Hurst has been rumoured to be popping off to Rotherham for a bit as well, which I do think. It is a level above, if you like, and I do really hope it happens. I really, really do. Again, it's exactly the same situation as Mr. Stobbs. They need to. If Fudge was here, he'd say he needs to get proper shit kicker and all that kind of thing, wouldn't he? So, do you think that's something that is on the cards? Because we can't just sort of keep him wrapped up in a bubble, can we?
Yeah. I think probably the most significant thing about this, and I think all of us on the podcast and most of our fan base probably have slightly different opinions in terms of George Hurst. I think a lot of people see him as the Messiah, the second coming of God and all that kind of stuff. And then I think there's some that kind of say, well, at the moment, he's not really done anything in terms of, first team, in terms of professional football. The couple of chances that he's had, he's not really done a lot when he's had a bit of first team action. But certainly the guy's got potential. So what I see as the most significant thing about this is not just him going on loan to Rotherham, it's him signing a new contract with us and then going on loan to Rotherham. And I think, financially, I think that's really important, because he could well be a very important asset for us. If our progress as a football club doesn't move as rapidly as we might want, and he does decide that he's going to have to go somewhere else to kind of get the opportunities that he really wants, then it makes sure that we're certainly able to command a decent amount of money for him. Or actually, if we do move forward as a football club at a pace, and he comes with us, and in the future, might just become our star player of tomorrow. So I see some real significance in the fact that from a couple of weeks ago, where it looked like he was definitely not signing a contract. And I think, there's a lot of people that have heard different whispers and different stories. And, I'm sure people that were at the fans forum, was it last Friday or the Friday before? I think it was kind of talked about there as a kind of like a keep it within this room kind of thing. And, I think that there's been a lot of whispers and a lot of people that claim to kind of, oh, well, I know this and I've heard that and I've heard the other. And it did seem like, the end was nigh for George at Sheffield Wednesday. So, I think that's again a real positive. Actually, some real positive news that we if we can get him signed up to a new contract, brilliant.
Bang on, absolutely bang on. And the last little bit of Wednesday news for this evening is, as I'm sure a lot of Sheffielders will know, lovely chap, John Burkhill, who a lot of people will know as the man with a pram. You'll have seen him walking around Sheffield dressed in green, pushing his pram, collecting money for Macmillan cancer care. He was at Hillsborough, sort of pushing his pram for the Rangers friendly, and apparently a lot of the Rangers fans assumed, because he was dressed in green with a great big green wig on, that he was a Celtic fan, and he got a bit of a stick from the Rangers fans. Not all of them, of course, just a select few, shall we say. Now, because of this, the Rangers actually did a collection for him at Ibrox as well, and invited him up and handed over a cheque for just slightly over £4,000 as well, which is absolutely fantastic, isn't he? If you don't know who this chap is, which obviously if you're in Sheffield I'd be surprised if you didn't, but if you do a little search for John Burkhill, I'm sure you'll see him walking around. So the next time you see a strange man dressed in green, it's not Jay after he's been on some fancy ale or something like that. Stick some money in his pocket as well. He's after raising £1 million for Macmillan. I think he's up to 400,000 already. But I think that's great from Rangers, isn't it? After he got that bit of stick and invited him up, and at half time, and it wasn't just a little check; it was one of those proper great big charity checks he got. So I just love those. Apparently,
still
they're in Scotland.
I thought they were long gone. I thought they were long gone. It's 15 years behind. I'm joking. I'm going to get so much stuff from Scottish fans now. No, it is really good because everyone knows who he is. You as you walk down to Hillsborough, you see him game in, game out. Everyone knows him. Everyone respects what he does. Everyone respects his commitment to what he does. And I think in a lot of ways, everyone kind of sees him. He's kind of like an adopted granddad to all of us, isn't he? And even, I've never spoke to the guy, but you sort of feel a level of sort of protection over him. So when this kind of story started to break the day after the Rangers game, I think what happened is that they stole quite a bit of his stuff, all the stuff that he was selling that was green. Obviously, Macmillan's colour is green. So, I think he sells the giant foam hands and stuff like that, doesn't he? And green wigs and stuff like that. That they'd stolen quite a bit of stuff and just kind of tossed it away and whatever. That I think that it upset a lot of us for very good reason. Not just because it's a really good cause, but because it's it's kind of a guy that we all feel like we know and we love. We've talked about the Rangers game quite a bit, and the fact that it wasn't the same atmosphere as a few years ago, and that kind of Sheffield Wednesday Rangers kind of loving thing that we had going on felt a bit strained after that game, and I think that a lot of Wednesday fans will now look at it and say, right, they've righted a wrong there. And they could have just the club could have said sorry and maybe sent him a few £100 or something. I think the fact that they've gone out of the way to raise as much as they can, invite him there, and kind of make him feel $1 million just for that one afternoon. I've seen the photos of him out on the pitch and stuff. Big smile on his face. You think that's nice. This is a guy who does a lot of stuff for other people. It's really nice that someone's done something for him off the back of what must have been a pretty unpleasant experience for him.
This collection came from the fans. It actually came from the fans group up there in Rangers, the Club 1872 group as well, rather than the actual club itself. Obviously, I'm sure they work very closely with like Wednesday used to and that kind of thing. But no, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Jolly well done, Rangers, and jolly well good, John, as well. You crack on all being, and hopefully we'll get you that £1 million. Right then, chap. Sorry, James, I apologise for having an intimate affair this evening.
It's all right. I'm just glad you didn't say girls, so it's fine.
I was tempted. Obviously, Fulham, who this one is going to be a bit of an odd one for me because Fulham, I think they're in the similar sort of situation where they're expected to do quite well this season. haven't they?
They've been as crap as us so far. Yeah, they have. I actually follow like 2 or 3 different like Fulham fans, and they've got a podcast as well, Fulham, and I follow that. It's interesting. You see their fans having exactly the same conversations that we've been having, and they've been kind of churning out the same kind of stuff about, well, if you remember last season, Newcastle lost their first 2 games and they still won the league. And you're like, oh, this all sounds very familiar. So yeah, they're in actually exactly the same situation. You know, they're suffering a little bit from that playoff hangover that we've had for the last couple of seasons now, and it's probably not a game that I particularly want to play after we've not won a game so far this season. But there's probably never a great time to go there and play them. It's the unknown, actually. It really is as up in the air as a game of football could be. You know, they might just hit it all kind of everything falls into place for them. And was it a couple of years ago where they did us like 4-0 or something? It could be another drubbing like that, or actually it could be that everything falls into place for us. And I think particularly if we get it right in terms of our attacking formation, and we make the most of It's going to be a counter-attacking game, let's be honest. If we make the most of those counter-attacks, we could turn them over. There's just equal chances of either team giving each other a drubbing.
And do you think, a bit of a two-pronged question here, Jay. First of all, do you think we'll see Fessy back? Secondly, do you want to see Fessy back?
Do I think we'll see Fessy back? If I'm honest, probably no. I don't think we'll see Fessy back. I'm not. Do I think we'll see Fessy in a Wednesday shirt again? I don't know.
Really?
I really don't know. We talked about this. Me and Fudge talked about this in the podcast that we did in the summer, and we actually both said the same thing. And a lot of people disagreed with us for very good reason. And people, whatever you say about Forestieri, and someone will make the point, yeah, but he's our best player. And you're like, well, actually, yeah, all right, fair enough. That's in a lot of ways, that's probably true. I would argue that maybe Hooper is a better player, but in a lot of ways, Forestieri is in terms of a flair player, he is the best flair player that we've got. But you don't see teams get promoted to the Premier League on the basis of having one flair player. Teams get promoted to the Premier League on the basis of 11 players who work hard, work for each other, and they grind out results. And I kind of advocated in the summer that maybe Fessy shouldn't be part of our starting 11, that he should become an option that we play off the bench, because we need 11 players that work hard and that turn up week in, week out. And I think the problem with Fessy is if he's not. He's a typical flair player. If it's not his game, you are effectively playing with 10 men on the pitch. If it's just one that he's not feeling it, or for whatever reason the other team put 2 men on him and he can't get into the game, then he might as well not be there. And I'm just not sure whether or not we can build a team that's going to win enough games for us this season to get out of this league on the basis of some of those games where it feels like we're playing with 10 men. I think he's a great option to bring off the bench to change a game. But I'm saying all the same stuff that I said during the summer, and I'm sure people heard it then, and I don't need to go over it again and again. Does that mean that I'm saying we should cash in and sell him? I kind of guess that it does. We as a realist, we're in a situation whereby financial fair play is about to kick in. We could do with raising a few quid from somewhere. I think that he wants to go, and I'm not going to start kind of spreading theories or anything like that. But I think this is the second season in a row now whereby he's played the first game and then something has happened and he's not played after that. I'm not suggesting there's a connection there, but I think what I'm saying is that maybe the time has come for Fernando Forestieri and Sheffield Wednesday to go their separate ways. And it kills me saying that, because someone will be listening to this now shouting at me saying, but he's our best player. And they're right. He is a brilliant footballer, and it's many, many years since we've had a player that good at the club. But does it feel like we can now rebuild a team around Forestieri, knowing that at any point he could do something where he blows, or those games where he just doesn't turn up? Or do we actually need to do what we did in the second half against Sunderland and have 11 players on the pitch that work hard and that grind out chances and that ultimately will grind out results for us? What about you?
You know me. I'm going to spot anybody that's wearing the shirt at the time. As long as it's a Sheffield Wednesday player, I'll be behind him, and I want to be. I did a lovely little song this week. If you've not heard that, my love letter to Fernando, pop onto our various social media outlets, and I'm sure you'll find it on there. But that is essentially my feelings. I really, 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 really want him to do well, and I do think he's got the potential to be an absolute Wednesday legend. But we can't have him just disrupting the team. It's that simple. You can either do as you're told and work for the team, but nobody's bigger than Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, are they? Not one player. We've been around a long time as Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. We were here a long time before Fessy arrived, and we'll be here a long time Fessy has gone. And it's just how you want to be remembered, isn't it? I mean, people remember Carboni in a certain light, and other people remember him in a completely different light as well, don't they? And I think it's a very similar sort of situation with Fessy. And to be honest, if he's going to cause problems, get rid. If he's going to fall into line, which I think we've established that he's probably not going to do, is he, now? Because this is the second time we've had this situation. So we shall see. I'm sure if he does end up on the bench or something on Saturday and comes on and scores a couple of goals, it all might be forgotten by a certain selection of the fan group. But we shall see. But apart from that, Fulham is going to be an interesting game, and one that is going to set one of these clubs up for the season, I think, and hopefully it's going to be us. And then after that, we're off to Bolton, aren't we, Jay? And I know this is one of your favourite grounds to visit, isn't it, Bolton?
Flipping it. We played them in the league like a month afterwards or something as well. So yeah, tickets went on sale. I think it was yesterday, and I have to say I've not bothered. And it's going to be the first away game for a long time that I would have been to, but I can't get up any enthusiasm for a Tuesday night in Bolton. I don't really know how I feel about it, other than the fact that Gary Medine will score a last-minute winner. That will happen. But at least then it gets it out of his system, and he's not going to do it in the league game, which is the one that matters a few weeks afterwards. I don't know. I mean, it's probably as boring a draw as we could have got, isn't it? It really is a dull draw. And I think, fair play to the fans that do make their way across there, because it is a bit of an epic. So it's not too bad for getting there. It's getting away after the game that really is so painful from that place. I suspect that we'll play a semi-weakened team again. We've got two really important away games either side of it in the league. So I've jumped my beer a bit too fast, and I keep kind of hiccuping, and I'm trying to hide it under my voice. I don't know if you can tell or not. I don't think I'm doing a good job of it at all. I mean, obviously the priority by an absolute country mile is Fulham and is Burton, particularly considering the start that we've made. And I'm not sure that maybe a couple of the players that we played in the Chesterfield game we would want to risk playing in that game at their place. I always want Sheffield Wednesday to win every game that they play, of course. But if come 9:30 on Tuesday night, if we're out of the EFL Cup, the amount that I will care will be equal or lesser than 0%.
Do you think Bolton will be feeling the same? Because
yeah, they're probably expecting to be in a relegation scrap, aren't they? And for them, they don't want to do what Wigan did. They need to get points in the bag early so that they're not playing catch up and stuff like that. So they'll absolutely. They'll share that opinion. It might actually just be a case of the team that is least rubbish will win, which we've probably got a fair chance of doing. I think being the least rubbish team, we could manage that.
It would be really interesting if we stuck out sort of Dave and Matiesh and all that, and obviously all these sort of fringe players. We've got enough players to do it, haven't we? And to be honest, I'd quite like to see them play. I really would. Get us a proper sort of match time behind them, and it'd be very, very interesting because they've got to be chomping at the bit to play, haven't they? Surely they've got to be. If you're a professional footballer,
probably. I don't know how bothered I am about seeing Dave, but I'd actually like to see Rhodes get 90 minutes under his belt. In a game where he's got a real good chance of scoring, and I'd probably be tempted to play Joao as well. I think that he is going to be a bit part player this season. There's no doubt about that. And actually, if he's still here by the end of August, then in a way I'd probably be a little bit surprised by it. But it's a chance for him to get a bit of football, and for any of those players, it might be a chance for them just to state their claim a little bit as to what they can do. And I think players like maybe O'Grady at centre half, who I think played in the early stages of the EFL Cup last season. We can't risk Tom Lees. We can't even afford to risk playing Daniel Poodle at centre half. We had this strange situation on Wednesday night where we kind of thought, if one of the centre-backs gets injured, genuinely, who are we going to play? And we came to the conclusion that probably the most likely person would be Stephen Fletcher because he's tall. Because there was no one else. We had no one that was a recognised centre-half. So, if we play a couple of the youth guys at centre-back, that's fine by me. We can't take any risks. And I hope that most fans probably share, particularly where we are in terms of injuries and stuff like that, that we can't take those risks. And if it means that we lose the game, it doesn't matter. That's fine. So be it. Getting 3 points at Fulham, getting 3 points at Burton is all that matters over the next 7 days.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Right then, Jay, do you have any other little bits for this evening?
I've got one thing to mention, which is a huge, big well done and congratulations to the Wednesday Cricket Club, who have won their midweek league. It was just last week that they wrapped it up. And I mean, they've had a brilliant few years. They've gone from strength to strength. They've won so many different promotions, and if you remember, we had the podcast during one of the international breaks last season where we had Sean and Michael, who came on to talk to us about just how much they've achieved and what they're hoping for moving forward. And brilliant that they're still winning stuff. So a huge congratulations to them. And on to the next kind of milestone for them. So well done.
Absolutely, it's amazing what's happened down there. It really, really is. Obviously, we had them on for a proper chat, didn't we? Beginning of last season, something like that.
It was last season, yeah.
Absolutely. So if you do want to have a little listen to how that club started and progressed from that point, just pop back through our archives and it'll be there as well. Right then, Jay, if people want to get hold of you over there on the social medias, where can we do that, old bean?
As ever on Twitter at James Marriott. Obviously heading to Fulham on Saturday. Anyone that's knocking around, give us a shout as ever. But not going to Bolton on Tuesday. I'm going to have to. This iFollow thing, it doesn't work with the cup games, does it? And I mean, obviously, officially, it doesn't.
Paid all that money for it.
It doesn't work in this country at all, does it? That's the point of it. But so I'm guessing I won't have any kind of way of streaming it. I'm gonna have to actually listen to a game on the radio for the first time in about 3 years.
Dun, dun, dun. I thought you were a radio fan, Jay. I thought you were like a radio chap. I thought this would be your main way of catching up with the football news.
I'm not necessarily complaining about listening to a game on the radio. It's just because I'm normally there. I honestly can't remember the last time that I listened to a Wednesday game on the radio. Do you know what? I think it would have been. I think it'd have been the Rotherham game at home where when they had Warnock as manager and they won. Because I missed that game because it was my sister's wedding. And I thought I might be able to get away in time to get to the game, and I didn't. But as I was driving back, I listened to the second half of it on the radio, and I think that was the last time I listened to a Wednesday game on the radio. That's a long time ago. It
really is a long time ago, absolutely. Of course, if you'd like to get hold of me over there on the Twitter, you can do that at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. You can get all the podcast at TWWcast as well. And a big, massive shout for our website as well. Please do go over to the Wednesday Week. Is it the Wednesday Week? I should imagine it probably is. The WednesdayWeek.co.uk. Am I right there, Jay? See, I spend a lot
Know
of
your
time over
brand,
there.
Lord H. Know your brand.
See, on my, it's just a favourite on my. I just click it and there it is. I don't have to type it in anymore. But I'm sure if you do a little search for the Wednesday week, you'll see it with our website. And we are still looking for some bloggers, I assume. Are we, Jay? If anybody wants to do a bit of scribbling for us.
We are, yeah. I kind of said last week, and I'll say the same this week, which is I've sort of just left it a little bit for the start of the season because I think at the moment there's a lot of people wanting to do a bit of moaning, and there's plenty of avenues to do that. I think once our season really gets going, and we can get some kind of constructive stuff kind of said, then we'll really kind of get going in earnest. But having said that, if you do want to just write something that's having a whinge about stuff, by all means do, and just whiz it over to me. Contact me via the website, thewednesdayweek.co.uk.
Absolutely. I think we definitely need some bloggage about the beer situation in the North Stand as well, G. Definitely.
I'm still angry about it. I'm fuming about it. I had to have a pint of Amstel on Wednesday night, which I mean it tastes like piss. That's got to be said. It's £4 a pint. It's just like what is going on? So Joe Palmer, I don't know if you listen to these podcasts or not, but James at thewednesdayweek.co.uk. We need to talk, man. Drop me a line. We need to talk.
It has been a pleasure as always, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for joining us. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
There's a chance here, a great save by Turner from McClare. Might come a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there, they would have trouble mixing in that.
The Wednesday